How are you, church? How's life after Cantata? One more? You miss it, right? I know, I miss it as well. No more practices every Sabbath afternoon and on Friday night. At least today we can go with our own pace. Slow down, go in God's rhythm, enjoy the fellowship. There's no reason to rush because there's no practice, no singing, there's no songs to worry about, right? Because last Saturday was so busy. We entertained and we feed them afterwards, right? We should be the one being fed, right? After, right? But that's IEFC, and we love doing that. We love doing that. So I want to thank you folks for coming today and for deciding to worship with us. And of course, I want to thank the Baguio family. We miss you guys. The little boy, Zane, right? Zane or Zane? Zane with Z. Man, he's a grown-up boy now. And pretty soon he will be singing. Logan is singing already. Where's Logan? Logan, you did great. You did great. And yeah, pretty soon Zane will be singing as well, like mom and dad. And it's gonna be a whole family thing, right? So thank you for the songs. And for all the participants who have come and participated, thank you. And those who are watching us live on Facebook, thank you for tuning in with us. And I hope that all of us will be blessed by the message that I have prepared for today. The topic of my sermon is a season of giving. A season of giving. When you talk about Christmas, we don't have the lapel. The lapel is not working well, so I just decided to just use this wireless microphone because I'm not used to just standing over here. I prefer walking around. So when you talk about Christmas, what comes to mind? Because there are different themes, every Christmas. When it comes to Christmas, what comes to mind? Come on, talk to me, please. Gift. What else? Celebration. Come on, say it loud. Family. What else? Shopping. Lots of eating. My wife was telling me, Dad, can we start like dieting during Christmas? So I told her, I don't have any problem with my weight. So, if you want to just don't bother me. just teasing her. Yeah, not during Christmas because, there's a lot of parties going on. Oh, by the way, tomorrow, our small group here in Redlands and small group in Beaumont is having a get-together party in somewhere at Sister Tetet's house. If you're free, join us. Eating again. What else? When you talk about Christmas, you talk about different themes, just like what I said. You can talk about love, you can talk about giving, you can talk about gift, you can talk about peace, right? But today, we're going to be talking about giving, a season of giving. And when you talk about the season of giving, I hope that the reason why we give is not because the wise men gave gifts to Jesus. I'm not referring to that kind of giving, although it's important, but we are referring to the greatest gift that you and I have ever received, and that is the baby that was born. All right? But do you find it interesting that Christmas holiday is being celebrated right after Thanksgiving?
You know, when I think about it, I said, this is very, very interesting, because when you talk about Thanksgiving, you know, which we celebrated about how many weeks? 3 weeks ago, right? When you talk about Thanksgiving, it is basically talking about giving thanks to God for what He has done to your life. Giving thanks to God for all the things that you have in your life. So when you talk about Thanksgiving, it is basically voicing out your gratitude to God. But when you talk about Christmas, one of the themes of Christmas is about what? Giving. Giving. All right, so I find this very, very interesting, you know, that these two holidays are being separated only 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, 3 weeks apart from each other, because I see this as a good transition. From Thanksgiving, you are saying thanks to the Lord. Then after 3 weeks later, you are going to celebrate the holiday also that focuses on what? Giving. It's the actual giving, not just giving thanks through words. Through words, right? Through words. And basically, you know, this idea was popularized, or this philosophy was popularized by Albert Schweitzer. Okay, Albert Schweitzer, a known theologian. All right? And this is what he said. The art of thanksgiving is thanks living. All right? The art of thanksgiving is thanks living. In other words, what he was basically saying is, it is gratitude in action. Maybe what he was saying is, hey, when you show your gratitude to the Lord, don't just say it in words. You have to live it out. You have to do some kind of action. And he argued this. He said, in gratitude for your own good fortune, you must render in return some sacrifice of your life for other life. Like it is thanking God for the gift of life by living it triumphantly. These are examples, he said. It is thanking God for your talents and abilities by accepting them as obligations to be invested for the common good. It is thanking God for all that men and women have done for you by doing things for others, and so many more. Gratitude in action. According to Walter Brueggemann, another known theologian, he said, in the midst of the frantic voices of consumerism and competition, the Christian community must find its voice in the ancient refrain of, say it folks with me, gratitude. Echoing the belief that there is enough for all and more than enough in God's abundance. What is the problem that he was trying to address here, folks? What is the problem that he was trying to address? You recognize this picture, folks? Do you see yourself? Do you see yourself doing this? I don't know if you recognize that person on your right. You recognize that person on your right? Who is that? That's me. You know, I don't remember the brand of these shoes. This happened years ago, more than 10 years ago. You know, I was still working in Pomona back then. Then I heard that this known shoes company is opening their warehouse to the public. And they're putting everything on sale. Do you know a pair of shoes? How much it costs? $10. And what was the name of these shoes? Tom's. Yeah. Who has a Tom's shoes? No one? Okay, all right. So we went there, and we were just grabbing and grabbing. And then I realized, man, we grabbed so much already. $10 each or per pair. I did not end up wearing all of these, folks. I sent it to Philippines. All right, so please, that's why you don't see me wearing it, But this is the reality, folks. This is the reality. The problem of consumerism. All right? The problem of consumerism. And this is basically what Brueggemann is trying to address, right? Is trying to address, especially during this season. Oh, man. Before Christmas season, Black Friday. Who goes out every Black Friday? I used to go out. I used to line up at Best Buy at 4 a.m. just to get something, Everything is on sale. We try to grab anything that we want, right? And this is basically what he is trying to address. All right? This is what trying to address. Because, in reality, this is basically what we are doing. I got this from the internet. We buy things we don't need with money that we don't have to impress people we don't like. Is this true, folks? Is this true? I'm guilty of this as well. As a proof of that is the picture that you saw earlier. We buy things we don't need. You don't need a lot of shoes, right? With money we don't have, sometimes we utang. We use our credit card to impress people that we don't like. Oh man, I'm better than you. That's why I'm wearing, look at my shoes. Look at my suit. All right? This is the reality. All right? Because this is the problem, folks. This is a problem that Walter Brueggemann is trying to address. He said, the problem is many of us live with the mindset of lack or insufficiency. And it shows in our behaviors. It shows in our behaviors. The reason why we are not having this grateful heart and we are not practicing gratitude is because of this mindset, lack or insufficiency. And you can root this all the way back to our experience, especially those who are born in the Philippines. Like me, we grew up poor. I remember, I live. My parents tried their best to put me in a good school. Eating in the cafeteria, staying in the dormitory. But you know what? During the time, I would go home only, I would say, 2 or 3 times a year. And every time I go home, the money that I use for my fare is utang. I would borrow money from my friend so I can go home and spend time with my family. And by the time I go back home, the only money I have in my pocket is the money that I'm going to use to pay my utang. After that, no more allowance. The reasoning of my parents? Well, you eat in the cafeteria, you don't need extra money. You eat 3 meals a day, So why have extra money? And because of this experience, folks, growing up lacking, growing up poor, now that we have money, as much as possible, we want to accumulate things that we did not have growing up as a kid. Tell me if this is true. And as a result, this is the result, folks. Let me go back to that picture. As a result, that's me. I'm guilty of this as well. All right? Many of us live with the mindset of lack or insufficiency. And another thing is, the problem is, we see a different world, right? We see a different world. That's why this is basically what Walter Brueggemann is trying to address. And this is also what the text that was read earlier is talking about. Matthew chapter 6 verses 22 and 23. How many of you have heard or read this text but yet did not understand it? I want to see your hands. All right, let's try to unpack this. Matthew chapter 6, verses 22 and 23. The eyes is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are, say it with me, unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? If you read this text without understanding the context, you'll not get it. Eye as a lamp of the body. Well, if you go to, if you have an NIV Bible, if you go at the very bottom part of that Bible, you will see a footnote there that says, a healthy eye was a figure of speech in Jesus' day. In Greek, it means healthy implies what? Generous. Healthy eye means being generous, having generous eye. And the unhealthy eye, it implies what? Stingy, the opposite. Opposite. So it means if you have a healthy eye, you are basically seeing God's abundance. A good example of having a healthy eye is this. You see that this world is owned by God. Whatever you have is owned not by you, it is owned by God. And everything that you have is a gift from God. And as a result of that, you don't have to worry about what you're going to have or what you're going to eat the following day. Because God can provide it to you. This is the result of having healthy eyes, folks. But yet on the other side, if you have unhealthy eyes, you see the world differently. You see a world that is insufficient. You see a world that is lacking. That's why as a result of this is what? You try to be greedy. You try to what? Hoarding. As if you're always panic buying all the time because you're thinking, what's going to happen if the world runs out of food? Who's going to feed me? What happens if I lose my job? What's going to happen to my family? What happens if I get sick? That's why the tendency is to get more and more. Well, here's the thing, folks. We need to shift our mindset. We need to shift our mindset from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset. Because in reality is, with these two pictures that I showed you, a lot of people are living with unhealthy eyes. This is the truth, folks, including myself. Guilty of that. Unhealthy eyes. A scarcity mindset focuses on what? Lack and fear. That leads to what? Competition and greed. While the abundance mindset focuses on trust in God's provision. That fosters gratitude and generosity. I know it's not easy, especially if you are born and raised that way. Right? But you can practice it. You just have to believe in the promises of the scriptures. It's for some people. That's why you can find a lot of commands by Jesus, particularly in the New Testament, like the command to not to worry about anything, because God's blessings are enough. You can find a command like seek first the kingdom before any other things. A command like give and it will be given to you. For a person with unhealthy eye, these are ridiculous. How can that be possible? But if you have healthy eyes, those commands that I mentioned, not to worry, to seek God, to give whatever you have, those commands make sense, right? Because you are coming from an idea or understanding that whatever you have, whatever you don't have, will be provided to you by God. All right? But if you have unhealthy eyes, those are foolishness or foolish things and very dangerous. That's why we need to cultivate healthy eyes. We need to cultivate healthy eyes. So as you can see here, Jesus teaching here, about generosity is on 3 levels. The progression from the head, which is the idea, to the heart, which is the feelings, and lastly, to the hands, the behavior. Right? So first, the head, understanding God's abundant provision. This seeing God and our life in God's world. Who is God as our Father? Right? Generosity is grounded in the triune nature of God. And being generous didn't start on His command to be generous, but it started from the very, very beginning. So this is basically where, the theory, the idea. This is basically where Jesus wants to start and how He would like to change you. We need to start from there. Understanding who God is. Understanding the practice of generosity did not originate from us, did not originate from this world, but originated from the triune God Himself. In what way? Well, this holiday is a reminder of that. Because after you and I sinned, after Adam and Eve sinned, and the next generations up to our generation, God said, I need to do something in order for me to be able to rescue the humanity. And the only thing that can rescue you and me is through my generosity. God's generosity. Through His only Son. So you have to remember that when God rescued you and me, He gave all. He gave all. He gave His only Son in order for us to be rescued. That is a good way of showing generosity. And we need to understand that, folks. It starts with the head, the idea, the theory that God is a generous God. So second, the heart, the feelings, all right? Allowing God to transform our desires. He's teaching us about the architecture of our hearts. It's about changing our hearts. When you talk about generosity, folks, we are not talking about just giving the tithes and the offerings. We're not talking about giving large donations every once in a while. But what this season is telling us is we need to be generous all the time. Trans living, right? Thanksgiving is trans living. Although Christmas is only seasonal, what this lesson is telling us is we need to be doing this as part of our living. All right? As part of our living. So generosity is not just about giving tithes and giving a big amount of money to some charity. It is not just about our behavior, but about changing your heart. Yeah, so this is the second level, the progression. From head to your heart. God wants to change your heart. The other day, my wife asked me, Daddy, let's go somewhere. We're going to get something for the exchange gifts. You know, when my wife say that, I cannot say no. I'm the driver, she's the boss. I follow. Whatever she gets, I put it in on the cart, push cart, I just follow her. Wherever she goes, yes, boss. Dads, can you relate? They love, I hate shopping. I hate shopping. But my wife loves shopping. Since I love my wife, I'm beginning to love shopping as well. Yes. This is a time where we get all of these presents to our kids, you know, to our church family. Sister Carol and Sister Evelyn, every year, thank you for your generosity and for your love to my family. Thank you. And of course to a lot of you. Yep, progression from head to feelings, you know, to heart, because God wants to change our heart. Because not unless God changed your heart, thanksgiving will not happen. Right? You have to transform your life. That's why if you are transformed inwardly, being gratitude, you know, the practice of being gratitude, being grateful, thanksgiving will just come out normally, not only during Christmas season, right? Not only Christmas season. And the third level, hands, right? Right? Once you understand who God is, that God is a very generous God, and He's able to change and transform your heart, then the third level will just come out automatically. Right? The hands, our behavior. Our behavior. He is teaching us about the practice of generosity. Being generous is not just about a one-time event. It should be a life practice. It should be a lifestyle. It shouldn't always be a big amount. It can be simple things. And it's always not be in a form of money. When you say being generous, it's not always in a form of money. It can be your time, it can be your talent, it can be other things. Right? According to John Mark Comer, one of my favorite authors. As you notice, you know, I'm using a lot of his books in my sermon. According to Mark Comer, generosity is a practice by which we index our heart from scarcity mindset in the abundance mindset of Jesus. Now the question is, how generous is our God? Just like what I said, He gave all. He gave His only Son. You can find a lot of promises in the Bible. You can find a lot of proof that God is a generous God. Well, Lamentations chapter 3 verses 23 and 24, He said, His mercies or blessings are new every morning. I mentioned, because I was the one who also gave message during Thanksgiving, the fact that you are alive is a gift. Even if you are in the midst of a struggle, even if you're in the midst of a great pain, excruciating pain, you still have to be thankful, because the fact that you're alive, the fact that you are experiencing the pain, the fact that you are suffering, just like the sermon last night, is already a gift. That means you are alive. And being alive is a gift. We're not supposed to be in here, folks. So whatever you have, even if you are lacking, if you are not, you know, based according to the standard of the world, you don't have a beautiful house, you don't have a beautiful car, you still have to be thankful, because it's a gift. God is a generous God. That's why according to Proverbs chapter 22 verse 9, in King James Version, he that had a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he giveth of his bread to the poor. Here's the transformative power of generosity. You know what being generous can do to you? You move from being fearful to trusting God. If you are generous, if you're practicing generosity, you move from worrying to having peace of mind. Peace that passeth all understanding. You don't have to worry about what you're going to eat or wear tomorrow, because you know that God is going to provide it to you. Right? You move from misery to joy. If you have peace, you have joy. It goes together. You have joy, right? Because your happiness is not based on the things that you accumulate, but your happiness is based on the fact that you are alive, breathing. You have your family, and you have time with your kids. From grasping, you're moving from grasping to gratitude. This is what being grateful can do to you. It will change you, your outlook, the trajectory of your life, the way you see your world, the way you behave yourself. That's why, my dear brothers and sisters, this is my last slide. Generosity, just like what I said, should be a lifestyle, not just a one-time thing, right? It's a daily choice. Make generosity a habit, not just one-time event. Make it a habit. Make it a habit. My prayer every morning is this: Lord, help me to be a blessing to other people today. And when I pray, I always make sure that my kids can always hear that. In the car before we go out to school, I always say that prayer. Help us to be a blessing to other people today. You can be a blessing by being generous to people. Daily choice. Reorientation of your heart. Align your life towards God and others through giving. All right? Through giving. Small acts. Incorporate kindness into your everyday routines. It doesn't have to be big all the time. It doesn't have to be big. Small act of kindness. Lastly, sow generously. Trust in God's promise of abundance as you give. So this time, my dear brothers and sisters, we are celebrating a season of giving. Think of ways you can practice this. I'm not saying do it just this time, do it just this season, but what I'm saying is, why not commit to the Lord, ask the Lord to make this as a starting point of the practice of giving, practice of being generous. Think of ways how you can be a blessing to someone. Right? And when you think of this person, don't just think of a random person that you don't know. It's good to do that. But what I'm saying is, think of someone that you know, from the community, from your family, from friends, that is really in need. That is really in need. Then start with this person. Start with this person. It's, again, just like what I said, Christmas season, we give gifts. We give, just like what my wife did. She bought a bunch of stuff, and I was all like that. Not yours, no. We always do this. But what I'm saying here is, start this season and try to be intentional. We need to be intentional. You know what I always say to my wife when she start grabbing this stuff? I said, do you really think they need that? You know? Because, you know, in reality, we do the same thing. You know, we receive random gifts every this time, this season, that we don't normally use. And what happens after that? We give it to someone as well. When there's an exchange gift, we just shuffle it, right? You know, we just okay. I don't need this. I'll just give it to someone else. All right? Tell me you're not doing it. We're doing it, right? Because this is basically the result of unintentional giving. But if you are intentional about your giving, you are going to target a specific person, and you will try to look at the specific need of that person. So when you give, you know that what you're going to give to this person is something that would benefit that person. Not something that that person will also give to his or her friends when they have their own, a different group, exchange gift. That's why my challenge to all of you today, as we celebrate the season of giving, let us try to be intentional. And let's not just do it every Christmas season. Let us do it every moment of our life. God has blessed you with a lot of things. According to the Bible, freely receive, we have to give it freely as well. All right? So I have more sermons about generosity. Maybe I can do that next time again. But you will see, the more you give, according to the Bible, you know, the more you give, the more God will bless you. Right? Hey, here's another sermon. But don't think that the reason why, the motivation to give is the blessings that you're going to get from God. That's not the motivation. The reason why God is going to bless you is in order for you to keep on giving that blessing to other people. That's biblical, folks. That's biblical. It's not for you. It's for others. Because in reality is, every time you give, every time you become a blessing to other people, it gives joy to your heart as well. It gives joy to your heart as well. And that's all we need. You don't need those blessings, those gifts. What we need is real joy that is coming from giving. May God bless all of us today.